Good morning, United Kingdom. Good morning to everyone. We don't seem to have Lakhi Singh around, and we've got a new guest on today, a lady by the name of Jessie Marsh. That's right. She'll be on today. We'll ask her, obviously, her opinion on lots of the topics. The saying for this week is, don't limit your challenges, but challenge all your limits. Lovely way of starting the week. Challenge, that's an important word. And I think a topic of trend or worry is the behavior of the President of the United States and his resistance on his behavior. It's a bit like a senile citizen, like a child who's got the controls of the nuclear button. Very dangerous, I would say. Whatever he did last week as well was condemned by everybody in the US Senate and the lower and the upper house, and a lot of people who were at that time his foe. Talking of challenge, then, he challenged everybody, and probably took the meaning setting your challenges and sort of like challenging your limits in the wrong way. So we don't want to be doing that. We don't want to be breaking the law and creating disruption and mayhem, especially if it leads to people being killed. Is positive challenge. So challenge your limits. Don't limit your challenges, all right? Don't limit your challenges and challenge your limit, all your limits. Is probably more a positive way of looking at how to become better. We mentioned last week an excellent opportunity to challenge your limits, and the limits have been set at the moment against us by the covert tier 5 lockdown. Tier 5 lockdown. I think needs to create an element of challenge within people. So they are challenging themselves, and they're not limiting their challenges, but they're actually trying to challenge their limits. That makes sense. I've got it all mixed up. I'm half asleep because I've had a very long weekend, lots of different activities. So apologize, but I'm sure I'll warm up as the show goes on. As the show goes on, not as the show goes on. As you can see, I'm finding it difficult to say my words properly because I'm really tired. And we are obviously going to be waiting in the back stage for Mr. Singh. Do we know if he's around? He is here? He's on. Okay, we'll invite him on in a bit when I finish. And then, as I said to you, we've got Jessie Marsh on today as well. So, can we call in? Hey, Lakhi Singh is here with us. Lakhi Singh, the alternative business and properties community, the property fixer, the alternative business and property communities fixer. Mr. Singh, good morning.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning. You're making lots of moves, it sounds like. That sounds like an energetic Mr. Singh jumping out of bed this morning to see and to talk to the audience. How are you doing, sir?
Good. I'm just in the car today. This is drive time, so I thought I'd take advantage.
So you're driving. Okay, that makes sense. It's drive time. So what's the weather like there in the... I always ask, I want everyone to know. We are live and we are in the UK and we do have a reach out. So what's the weather like there, sir, in the southeast, in the city of London, in the square mile, where you are undoubtedly a mover and a groover, a shaker and a maker? Turkey Singh, what's happening in the square mile? What's the weather like there in the southeast, please? Tell us.
The temperature is very mild today compared to last week. It's literally 6.5 degrees centigrade now. And it's due to be quite mild this week, which is nice.
Excellent. Talking of things which are nice, we have extremely nice Jessie Marsh in the background. And as I usually do, I'm going to invite her in, just like Luther Van Ross inviting in Maria Carey. So we have waiting in the wings the beauty Jessie. Jessie, morning.
Good
How are you
morning.
doing?
I'm good.
Morning. How are you doing? Excelente. So Jessie, tell us a bit about yourself. Whereabouts in the United Kingdom are you this morning?
So I am in the Forest of Dean in Gloucestershire. We spoke about this when I came on last time. You were calling me the little Red Riding Hood of the forest.
That's right. No, we heard about it, and I'm doing it for all the new listeners so they actually know who you are and they get to recap. When they go back and pull out the lovely Jessie Marsh, they will see you in the last interview as well. A lady, if you close your eyes and just listen to her, you can imagine so many things. Talking of imagination, Lakhi Singh, what do you think are your limits and how do you challenge those limits?
I think you got to keep on pushing yourself every day. You can't necessarily allow yourself to stagnate. So having a sense of always improvement or growth mindset, I would call it. You've got to have a growth mindset, and you also always got to be thinking, how do I make things better than they are now?
Yeah.
And really be fixated somewhat on ensuring that you are bettering yourself in every way, from health to body, mind, and soul. And
okay.
Then business.
Excellent. Well, talking about health, body, and mind, go back to Jessie. Jessie, you're in the Forest of Dean, a lovely area. I hope you weren't affected any more seriously with the floods. Did you have to stay out of the house for a long time over the Christmas and New Year's?
No, luckily it subsided. Oh, bless you. Luckily it subsided quite quickly and we were able to have a dry Christmas, which was good. So we took advantage and managed to get out in the woods and go for nice long walks, which is something we do most days. I'm challenging myself to hit 10,000 steps a day right now.
Wow.
Doing quite well, which is good.
How much does 10,000 steps relate to?
Oh, usually around 5 miles, something like that.
5 miles, and that too in the Forest of Dean. And just by the way, if you think I am ignorant to the wonderful Forest of Dean, I remember coming on a camping trip once upon a time when I was a little boy, under the age of 10. The school organized a regular camp out in the Forest of Dean. So I remember coming to the Forest of Dean, getting a fever, losing lots of weight because I was sort of like a bit podgy when I was younger. And I remember going back home after about 7 days. My parents couldn't recognize me because I'd lost so much weight. Is that still the same case for the Forest of Dean? If you take a walk out, are you really, going to be super fit? Are you a bit like Wonder Woman? Do you walk around with a whip and you hold it and make them tell the truth? Do you do that?
Not quite. I have to be aware of all the wild animals we have. But it's so great to get out in the fresh air, even when it's cold, just to kind of wrap up and take that time. I find walking out in the woods really great because it just gives you time to center your mind and just take in the surroundings around you, listen to the nature that's there, and really just kind of have time for yourself. Right now, obviously, the gyms and the swimming pool and things like that aren't open. So it's great to take in kind of the natural environment for sure.
Excellent. So What type of animals have you got in the Forest of Dean that you sort of like regularly? You must know where the local hangouts are.
So
I mean, I went as a kid. I don't think we saw any animals. I think we just was wonderful because we did lots of walking, and it was really a change in my physical well-being because I was obviously quite fit. I used to play football and everything, but I was a bit podgy. When I went to Forest of Dean, I remember coming back and having lost weight because I'd number one caught a bit of a fever as a baby, walking around, sweating and running around in the forest. And when I got back, they literally couldn't recognize me because I'd lost so much weight in 1 week. Is that the way it is for you? Is it, Jesse? Are you sort of like super fit?
definitely not super fit, but I'm trying. I'm trying to hit those 10,000 steps a day, just get some kind of center, peace of mind while I'm out and about. In terms of the wildlife, we have sheep, a lot of sheep. We have deer. We have wild boar. So you have to just be a little bit wary of those. But it's great. It's just great to get out and, just
Okay,
be.
so you got deer and wild boar. Talking of wild boar, coming back to Lakhi Singh. Lakhi Singh, are you setting your challenge? Are you trying to challenge your limits just like Jesse has? Are you trying to do 10,000 steps a day? Are you a bit like wild boar or are you more like a deer?
Yeah, I've also set myself a challenge to do minimum 10 kilometers run per week. So I'm also trying to get the steps in because the type of work I do, it's quite sedentary. You've got to be sitting around quite a lot in calls and that sort of thing. It's not always easy to be taking the steps. So so I managed to hit my target last week. Did 13 kilometers total of running. Did 7 kilometers yesterday.
Excellent.
But I don't normally run, so this is sort of most consistent run I've done for about 2 or 3 years.
Excellent. Right. Okay. So Lucky's definitely setting his limits and he's trying to challenge his limits. And Jessica, what have you done for the new year? What was your resolution and what is it you're doing this year that's changing and setting some limits?
So this year, I think mainly is to be happy within, making more time for myself. I think I kind of burnt out towards the end of last year where I was working so much and putting, so much into my business, which isn't going to stop, but I need to make sure that I've got that kind of balance and really make sure that, with my target of walking and getting out in the fresh air, that I do that for myself as well as for my business because it works on both levels. So definitely just taking a little bit more time for me and just really kind of setting those limiting beliefs, which is, everybody seems to have, limiting beliefs surrounding how successful they can be or how much they can push themselves. But it's all about just kind of bringing that back and centralizing yourself, making sure that you're happy with it to be able to move forward. Okay.
So are you involving the family in these challenges that you're setting yourself?
Yeah, for sure. My little boy comes out for walks with us. He had a new bike for Christmas, so he's been going out quite a bit on his bike, which is great. Obviously, it's been quite icy recently, so it's just been more walking than bike riding. But as the spring comes, we'll be getting out on our bikes more too.
Okay. So the second part of today's, topic theme is the RAC and how you can best make it to take advantage of the RAC for 2021 to make a passive income. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I've got it right for once. Thank you. Okay, so the RAC model and how you can use it to make a passive income. Before I go over to it, I'm going to give a shout out to Sonia Lambert, the lovely Sonia. I hope you're feeling better now, Sonia. And Jan Akram, who's always an avid listener of this show. Big shout out to you too. So yeah, I mean, we got the news last week anyway that Donald Trump apparently decided to get a rabble of people together to ransack the House of Senate. I think, if that I've not got that wrong. Quite a challenge. I think he was following our advice before we gave it. And that was he was challenging his limits and his limit as being the president. What do you say to that, Lakhi? Good challenge, was it? Challenging his limits?
Well, I think what's happened is we've had quite a bit of a shock for a lot of people. But there's been a funny joke going around with the leader of, is it South Korea, Kim Jong-un? And they got like a picture of him with a big smile saying they thought I was crazy.
That's good. I think they had that before as well. I say sometime last year. There was something similar to that, comparing him with the Korean leader.
I think that was to do with the detergent. I think when he was encouraging people to drink detergents.
That's right. He was giving advice for people to do it. I think, look, if you really look at it, it's very rare that you have someone of that age running a company. You know, normally you have ascension policies, and you have at that level where you got the board scrutinizing every action, every word, every decision you're taking. The board normally will have weeded someone like that out. The funny thing is, in politics, you got someone running the country, a control to the nuclear weaponry as well. And what you see is quite obvious. He's a bit off the wall, a bit wacky, a bit divisive. And yet, because he's the president, you can't do anything. I mean, they're talking about, I think it's invoking some right, is it the 25th Amendment or something, which allows them to basically declare him unfit for office and get rid of him. Yeah, even though it's a couple of weeks off. But he's doing lots of weird and wacky things in between, signing lots of orders, trying to close down the whole of the world before he leaves office. What do you say to that, Jessica? Have you ever done that? Have you tried?
No, I haven't. But I think.
Did you try to close down the call center in Canada before you left? Are you trying to shut down the whole of Canadian call centers once you had the authority?
No, definitely not. I think for Donald Trump, I think he's just trying to put his kind of last stamp on things and try and shake things up before he's kind of turfed out of there. So I just think he's just pushing his luck, I think he's just trying to cause more issues and kind of more noise around.
He's not challenging his limits. Yeah, you're saying he's going to be turfed out, trying to make him out to be a bit like a turd, basically, turfing out. But is that the case? Is he not challenging it? Isn't he following our advice? I mean, he didn't know we were going to have that advice this week, but maybe if he found in the airwaves 6 cents picked up this week, we were going to say challenge your limits, and he thought, yeah, I can challenge my limits. I'm the president of America. I challenge the House of Senate. I'm going to get a whole bunch of people to come in. I'm going to get a police, so I think it was a police constable killed as I'm doing it. That's not bad for a day's work. What do you think, Lakhi Singh? Do you think he was challenging his limit as the president then, again?
I think he's just off his rocker, mate.
He's off his rocker. Right, okay, that's a very harsh word.
I can't see any... yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to be that arrogant to really be doing those sort of things. I mean, there's no real... I can't see any sort of advantage at all, really, from him doing anything he's doing at the moment.
Yeah, but people will say he's probably somewhat a true reflection of the American society. You know, they are arrogant. I mean, Americans in their own right basically are so arrogant that they go to someone else's country and make them feel like, you know, they're supposed to be doing things in their country in the way that it's done in America. You know, what's this food I'm eating here in China? You know, where's the burger and the steak? You know, it's that type of attitude. So isn't Donald Trump really a manifestation, and I say maybe an ultra manifestation or a animation of Bart Simpson and Homer Simpson? What do you say, Jesse, to that?
I think he's just, as Lakhi said, I think he's pretty much off his rocker. I think he's just in his own little world, just thinking whatever he does is the right decision, regardless to whether it impacts other people. I think that, yeah, he's just going out and doing what he wants to do before he's, you know, out of office or out of term, so he can just put his final stamp on things and just say, look, I caused all these issues or brought all these other scenarios up before he's out. I think, yeah, he's just crazy.
Okay, the way I look at it is, it's not him that's crazy. It's the people around him are so obsessed because they're losing their champion, their stallion. They're going to be out of office. They're going to lose their perks and their free cars and their security and all the razzmatazz that comes with being part of the president's entourage. I think it's mainly them who's probably giving him more bad advice, because remember, the president individual, it's just like any large organization, any country. It's not the individual that's actually taking the decisions, it's the admin behind him and giving him good or bad advice. I'm sure Barack Obama had equal people giving good and bad advice, but he had a sense of level-headedness. So I think he was a bit more calmer in starting a war across the world and killing a few 100,000 people. He had a style and a grace about himself when conducting war. I think Donald Trump was not that much into the war scene, but basically more into internal mismanagement and mayhem and confusion and divisiveness. What do you say, Lakhi, to that? Do you think Barack Obama was probably a better president and more poised in his decision making, maybe less reckless on the face of it, but just as reckless in his actions? I think maybe Donald Trump isn't so much of a bad guy because he doesn't really have much of a foreign policy. He hasn't conducted any wars. He's not gone out. He actually is more business orientated. He's probably tried to de-escalate or bring the soldiers back home. What do you say, Lakhi?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think there's a lot of sometimes what's on the outside may not be a reflection of what's really happening internally within the country. So it's very difficult to say really what really happens behind closed doors. I mean, there's quite a lot of historical evidence of a lot of wrongdoing in American politics anyway. And the question is really who's the best of the West?
Exactly. I mean, it's not like J. Edgar Hoover did any great, he was just as corrupt. So the bottom line is, I think Donald Trump is a bit more on your cuff type of thing. He's sort of like wears his heart on his sleeve. The bit, he's quite open about being racist, or he tries to obviously skirt around the R word. But I think whatever he says is quite racist, quite divisive, and I think that's just the way he is. That's the way he's run his businesses and his companies, and I think he just transferred that knowledge over to the presidency. But okay, closing that topic off, we've got Donald Trump, who's gone a bit evil, I think, gone a bit crazy, wacky, off those rockers, like Lakhi said, off his rockers. Right, okay, so Lakhisingh, please tell me then, 5 important tips to use the RAC model for a passive income. I mean, I would assume the RAC model, which is an associate program, isn't that a bit more proactive? Can you do it passively? Does it make passive money for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that's really simple, and anybody could do it really. You just need three. So just to explain what the RAC model is, because a lot of people will be thinking, what is the RAC model? So it's a rescue associate model, is like becoming an associate for one of our companies called Rescue My Properties, and we're offering it out for free to people. It's normally £2,000 membership to become an associate, and if they bring in clients who we can assist in fixing their problems, then typically we would get paid and they would get a commission from it. So that's the general background.
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody wanted to become an associate, it's quite simple. They go to rescuemyproperties.co.uk and they register, and they'll be given all the information. And the three skills that are required is, number one, you've got to have good communication skills. Two, understand a bit about property finance, possibly. And then the third most important thing is you need to generate leads of people that need assistance. So it's a bit like being call it like a roadside assistance, but in property. Somebody's got a finance problem, somebody's trying to sell a property, somebody's got some sort of legal issue with the bank, or they're not getting their rental income, or so whatever problem they've got related to property and business, or even generating a new income, you can introduce clients so we can assist them. So it's as simple as that.
Okay, so but I think the word passive normally means different things for different people. Jesse, what does the word passive mean to you?
Passive is a tricky one. I think passive is great. I think the word passive to me means that you've worked really hard to get to a certain stage, and then you see reoccurring income coming in from that. But you've got to put the effort and the work in to get to the passive stage. Obviously, that takes time. You've got to have the determination and the goals set out of whether that's an income figure or whatever that may be to get you to that passive income. I don't think anything is truly passive because you've got to still put that work in.
Excellent. I think that's a lot of clear thinking. I was going to ask the same question. I was going to ask that question, Jesse. How come you beat me to it? Making me feel insecure and making me feel that I'm a bit of a dirt brain, a bit dumb. Did you do that on purpose? Make me feel insecure?
Definitely not. Of course not.
Okay, great. So yes, I think Jeffrey actually raises the important question. It's all well and good, like you saying passive, but I think Jesse's right. You need to put some grafting in before you can get to the passive. So how would you be in a position to sit back and enjoy the results of your hard work? Are there different styles that you can use the model, the RAC, to have it, as a passive income? Are there different ways? How do you do it? How do you do your hard work to get to the passive part? Yes, you can. Barack Obama. Okay. Yeah, right. You're right. Barack Obama there. I like that. Yes, we can. So tell me, sir, how can we?
So basically, if you become an associate, we want to create a passive income. Jesse's right. You're going to put a bit of extra effort in. The way to do it is possibly recruit 2 or 3 other people that have got access to our large network, and help them to get established in actually generating income. And then you can generate a percentage of passive income from everything that they generate. So we call them associated agents. So again, the cheeky analogy is that they're called AAs. It's a bit like the Automobile Association. So it's a play of words because we're involved in helping people with assisting them in any type of issue they've got. So it works well that way as well if you want to make passive income.
Okay, so very shrewd, I would say, of you, Lakhi Singh. Very shrewd. I think that's where the business side of you comes into it. So you're using a metaphor. So you've got the RAC that lets people feel it's a recovery service. It's really rescue and properties, but it's a rescue associate. And you've got the AA, which is an associate agent. Lovely. So you've got the two acronyms being used for the purpose of helping people. So what you're saying is there are two different ways of slicing the cake. So you're a rescue associate, so you've got the membership, you've taken out, a gold membership, you've paid the £10,000. What you're saying now is you are building up your team of associate agents which are underneath you, and you're giving them access to your CRM or your login or their own dashboard that allows them to generate business, and all that business, irrespective of how much you want to put into it, all the business that the associate agents under you generate trickles upwards through your membership. So every bit of business that they generate goes through your membership, so you automatically make a X amount, say it's £5,000 for the month. That £5,000 you can pay downwards however you've agreed. So you're really sitting there letting these people do their work, and once they refer business through you to the head office, the payments of those commissions come to you, and you arrange to pay off the associate agent directly. So that could be regarded as a passive income, couldn't it? Because you're actually getting the right agents under you. So if you were going to do it cleverly, what type of people will you be looking for to create the complete model? What type of people would you say as associate agents?
So it'll be primarily people that have access to a large database of property or businesses. So it could be accountants, it could be solicitors, it could be estate agents, it could be property sources, these type of people that are involved in day-to-day communication with property investors. It could just be a lettings agent. Yeah.
Okay, it can be anyone, and they refer the business to you. Okay, so you're saying any one of these people will be an ideal associate agent. Now, I know it sounds like a silly question, but you've got the client. And I know you say you deal with all clients, people with property and property aspirations, as well as problems, with people who have got legal issues around their property in terms of in specific things to do with repossession and eviction, and maybe issues to do with some a boundary wall or something. It could be anything. What you're saying is this business leads to a referral, and the referral gets paid an amount of money back to the RAC. That is the core of the business. Is that right, sir?
That's absolutely correct. Yeah.
Excellent. Jesse, can you see yourself doing something like that? Would that be something that you could see sitting at home, building up your teams of associates and making a passive income? Can you see that happening? Would that be something that you would get into, to have a passive income?
Potentially, yeah. I was literally just scribbling loads of notes down as Lakhi was talking, and I was just trying to think about all the connections that I have that may very well benefit from this. So the agents that I work with, obviously with property sources as well, so the investors that we work with, is there a link there that could really help? Because that's kind of my background. That's what I like to do, is I like to help people. And if I
it's interesting, Jesse, you're saying that, because this business is about helping people. Is that happened psychologically, or is that something that's happened involuntarily? You haven't been coaxed into, you haven't been prompted by Lakhi Singh at all, have you, to say that?
No, definitely not. That's just me. I just like.
I'll pay later, Jesse. Oh yeah, I wasn't meant to mention it on the show, was I?
Excellent. I take payment in all forms and cups of tea. Fine.
Well, we have your wonderful smile as a payment, and I don't think I'm going to be able to afford paying it to you. I will just take it and use it to set myself positive messages. So yes, helping people. And that's literally, I think, isn't that what the Rescue My Property Associates model is about? Helping people and making money at the same time, Lakhi? Isn't that some weird way, the hook that
yeah, I mean, it's you could call it coincidence, you could call it planning, you could call it luck, but we've literally been doing this work for about 10 years plus, Jesse, for about 15 years now. So we thought, how do we actually, rather than help 40, 50 people a month, how can we help thousands or potentially millions of people? So we thought, by putting this model together, because we've actually worked on all the solutions around solving any type of business property type, buy-to-let, negative equity type problem, how can we help the masses? And it just so happens the situation we've got now, which we're in, which is a dire situation, a lot of people, the type of things that we've set up now can help hundreds of thousands of people which are in a dire need of solving they can't pay their mortgage, they haven't got a job. So this could actually be very, very useful to lots of people that are now stuck indoors literally for the next month with nowhere to go, because this morning I think they are looking to launch even more more restrictions.
Okay, how much more can they restrict? Are they going to now put a biometric imprint on your toilet door to monitor how many times you go to the toilet? What do you reckon, Jesse? How much more monitoring is left on you? I'd love to monitor you.
I'm not really sure. I've heard a few rumors about kind of Tier 5 or whatever these more restrictions may be, but I just don't know what more that they can do to make people listen. Unfortunately, whatever the advice and the guidance is right now, there are people out there that are just not listening, and that's what's making the situation worse. I don't know whether, more heftier fines is something that needs to be done, but do we have the policing that can be out there constantly stopping people being out and about and doing, going out and doing things they shouldn't be? It's very difficult.
Jesse, isn't it a bit a contradiction of what they call the free world? Because look, we can understand there's a risk. And we can understand people in all situations are going to be a bit selfish. In selfishness, in the sense that I can go out and I can't worry about, will I catch it from somebody else, and I'm going to go home and anybody at home is going to catch it from me. Maybe I don't want to think about that. It's not being selfish. I just don't want to think about things that restrict my mental health. Remember, there's a big balance there for an individual. We were talking about mental health last week. And I think once you encroach upon people's personal happiness, not materialistic, not wants, but desires, just the personal space. I don't want to be watching Lakhi in the toilet with a camera on him. I don't want to be making sure I've got a biometric scanner on his toilet door. Isn't it the case though, Jesse? Isn't it they're just trying to push it too far, and they're just crunching in to your right to have your own opinion on what you think is right and wrong to do?
Yes, I think it's very difficult. It's a very hard balance with the restrictions that we've been given and the mental health side of things. Obviously, you mentioned that last week, but it's such a fine line. I know there's many people that are still, shielding, and essentially they've nearly been shielding for a whole year. So they've really not been out very, very much, or they've not really seen anybody, and that's really affecting mental health. As I said, I do get out for a walk as much as I can. And I try and go, obviously for me, it's easier because I'm in quite a remote area to go out for walks and maybe see only one other person for a whole hour's walk. But that's very difficult when you're in a busy, bustling area that obviously is slightly quieter, but you are still seeing more people around. I think that it is our right to do kind of what we want to, but actually we need to start thinking more about the impact that this is having on the whole country. It's not just, for me now personally, it's not just numbers that's coming up on the TV each day, on the news reports. It's names of people I know that are suffering with this, or extended friends of family that have passed away from this.
Yeah, I think I get that point, Jesse. That is, I think, the issue, that now it's people we know, and the reality of the effects of it is hitting us. But maybe to a certain crowd, a certain group of people, they still don't think those people, those names are relevant, because they are not in their circle. I don't know how people think as a crowd. Lucky, you tell me, what do you think on this topic? I understand what Jesse's saying, but you're in the city, you're in the heart of it, you're in the belly of the beast, as I sometimes say, or probably a place lower down. What do you say?
What's a specific question? So you're trying to work out whether people should be going out, or what?
No, the limit of control. There seems to be an overwhelming desire to control. How can you control someone's desire, or someone's need, or someone's want? How can you do it when it's about basic things? It's not like you're walking around with marijuana or something, and you want to smoke weed, and they're saying, look, weed is illegal, you can't do that, and it's by law. This is you wanting to go out for a walk, and they're saying you can only go out for a walk 1 hour a day. What if you need 3 hours? How are they going to do that? And then they're going to check your mobile phone, and you have been out for more than 3 hours. How do you distinguish between that which is reasonable and that which is overbearing? A bit like a nanny state. I think the word you used a few weeks ago, a nanny state. How can a nanny and a state make sense? How can a state be a nanny?
To be honest,
as a group of people, are we just too passive? Do we just let government dictate so much to us that now they're going to dictate? The only thing they're not dictating is when you go to the toilet, isn't it, really? Everything else they're dictating. So is it now that they've really sort of like narrowed it down to you can't go out for more than an hour? And how are they going to supervise it? How are they going to check your mobile phone and say, right,
there's a couple of important points. I think between my personal opinion on it is, if we're trying to limit spread of something, and if you're leaving people to stay at home as long as possible locked up, they're going to have lower immune systems. They're more likely to be catching it when they go out, because they're not really getting enough fresh air. Their immune system's a lot lower, so
yes,
they're more likely to catch it. Yeah, well, that's a
clever counter argument to people saying you're going to be locked up.
Yeah, so that's number one. And the thing is, if you allowed them to get out, but said to them that they're going to limit the amount of time they spend in an enclosed environment with other people, such as in a shop or something, and that makes more sense, because then you're sort of reducing the chances of them catching something. But allowing them to go out and actually exercise the fresh air, it's unlikely that they're going to catch something in a park. And at the moment, you know, even with the lockdown, the parks aren't necessarily super crazy busy. It's not packed. So, you know, the chances of you catching something in the outside is actually very low.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's what you're saying, but people are saying no, it's higher. They're saying it's airborne. They're saying it's you know, surface borne. It's everything borne. The only thing it's not Jason borne. What do you say, Jessica? Is it Jason Bourne, or do you think it's everything but Jason Bourne? Do you know who Jason Bourne is?
I do. I think it is everything but Jason Bourne. I think that, you know, we just have to be so much more careful now that there's this second strain or second wave or what have you that they're calling it. And we just need to be really careful. I think can taken into consideration if you are going out is just be aware. I mean, obviously, you know, we're told to wear our masks all the time, whether we're in like a supermarket. But actually, as soon as I see people come out of the supermarket, they're taking it straight off as soon as they get out the door. Wait until you're in your car or something like that, because if it is airborne, which you're saying, and you know, reports are saying that, you know, so many more people are getting it, we just have to be a little bit more conscious at protecting ourselves and our families.
I think, you know what I think? I think, had they been very aggressive in the first instance, they may have had a better result. And I think last week as well, they've got access to all the archives: Spanish flu, influenza, Ebola, you know, bird flu, all of these X-flus and X-viruses. They know how to handle groups of people. They should have been very clear about how to handle it and how to get the results. I can't see for the life of me why they've, you know, been pussyfooting around, excuse my feet, but pussyfooting around about it for 1 year and then going in for a second series of the same. Doesn't make sense. But anyhow, even if it doesn't make sense, tell me, Lakhi, what type of challenges can you set yourself? What type of challenges are you going to set yourself while you're in lockdown, with all your business activities, with all your big deals that you handle, the big deals that are like a big pair of boots that you walk around in? How do you set your challenges then? How do you get to complete that stuff? Obviously, Lakhi Singh is frozen, I think. Was he frozen? Is he not? He's talking, but we can't hear you, Lakhi Singh. We can't hear you. I think you've muted yourself. Jessie, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah, but I can't hear Lakhi.
Let me and you have a tay on tay, and we will ignore the big man until he comes back from the Right, Jessie, tell me then. Tell me a challenge that you think you're going to set yourself.
Challenge for this year or for the okay? So
challenge this year. You're going to set yourself, and it's like pushing yourself. It's actually, you know, setting a goal for yourself, which is more than you do.
One of my biggest challenges this year is an extension of what I've been working on for the over last year, which is to be able to work with investors and care providers and help provide more housing for those who really need it most. I think Lakhi touched on that previously, which was, you know, we're seeing so many more people either coming out of jobs, they don't have a job anymore, they're struggling with mortgage payments and things like that, that there's going to be a lot more requirement for social housing, for care housing, what have you, emergency housing. So for me, my kind of main goal of the year is to be able to provide as many houses as we can to support those who really need it most, for sure.
Excellent. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
The funny thing is that as soon as I stopped the car and parked outside the office, then that's when it stopped working. How weird is
Yeah,
that?
that's funny. Weird. I think you're probably the Jason Bourne of the fixer world. You've probably got lots of different IDs and Sims and all that. You keep changing them and changing or putting a beard on and wearing a face mask and all that.
I've got
Right,
3
Lakhi
passports
Singh,
now.
interesting questions come up. I mean, yeah, exactly. So Jessie mentioned last time, and she's a wonderful. I think she's like everyone else we were. We're very blessed to have very positive, very upbeat, and very energetic people. People who transmit positivity. She was talking about the fallout of people losing their jobs and helping local authorities and housing authorities and XYZ and isn't this a sign that we're already so used to the nanny state that we don't know what to do when we lose our job? Isn't that a sign anyway of the times that we're already so vulnerable to government and the system that we have mental fallouts and mental breakdowns when we lose our jobs because we just don't know anything else? Isn't that a sign that we're already half a part of a system that we don't have any? It's a bit like the Matrix, I think. Sounds like the Matrix. Isn't that where we're at? Isn't that what it shows?
I think we definitely are. I think the challenge we need to set ourselves is to be now escape the system somehow. So if you can go back to the basics, which is maybe get yourself a little cabbage patch and start growing your own food, because what if there's no food? Second is, you may want to actually sell your multi-million-pound house and just get something a lot smaller. So you don't need to be working. So I think setting us a challenge for complete freedom from the system actually probably makes a lot of sense, because you don't really know what's around the corner. So any money that you got in the bank might actually get seized if we go into some sort of emergency lockdown. They could say, okay, well, give us 80% of all the money that's actually anybody's got more than £300,000 in their bank account, because we're struggling as a country. So what are you going to do?
Oh, right. Okay. That makes sense. What you're saying is it could potentially, it's a bit damning, it's going to be a bit scary. But, if they did do that, what would you do? So my question is half answered there. Jesse, I'm going to ask you the same question. Isn't that inadvertently half an admission that we're already subject to the Matrix?
Yeah, I think it's difficult. We're all in, as we keep hearing the same saying, we're all in the same boat. We're all in the same storm. And I quite rightly say, yeah, we are. We're in the same storm. We're not in the same boat. People have different situations going on where, like we've said, you could be at risk of losing your job. But what do you do then? How do you go out and make that change if you're not kind of open-minded like that and you've always only known one thing? How do you open up your mind to go and chase and do other things? I think obviously all as entrepreneurs on the group, what have you, we have that ability, or we have that capability in some way or another, but others don't have that. So it's being able to support those who don't have that vision that they can make a positive change for themselves. If they find themselves without a job or being stuck with paying rent, there are things that can be done. It's just being able to understand that and utilize, people around you, for sure.
Yeah, but like you just said, maybe this is about going back to baby, but putting a bone through his nose, wearing this leopard skin, and walking around with a bow and arrow and trying to shoot anything that doesn't look like a human, obviously, that he could potentially, instead of doing roadkill, goes back to bow and arrow, goes back to the old days with a spear, walks around with a club, looking for potential brides and also looking for a spot of meat to eat. What do you reckon, Jesse? Did you see Lakhi walking around with a skin leopard on? And with a bone, he's got a bow and arrow in his hand, going back to the basics. Can you imagine that? Seeing Lakhi in one of the trees, looking down with a bow and arrow and a spear, and
I think we could. I think we could go back to basics. I think there's a lot of us and a lot of people throughout the UK that take ease and convenience as an advantage. There's obviously a lot of things that we can do, like we can grow vegetables, we can take things a little bit more simpler than we do now. We've certainly been, I don't know whether conditioned is the right word, but we have everything as a convenience. Things can be delivered every day.
So if you were a vegetable, what would you grow then? What would you grow if you had the option, like Jesse says, of growing a vegetable? What are you going to grow in your back garden?
I'd grow carrots and spinach and
spinach,
potatoes.
Or would you be growing it out of a Wakefield's bag or Marks and Spencer's bag, putting it in a plastic bag and put it in the garden? Can you see yourself growing things out of a Waitrose bag, Jessica?
I'm not sure growing out of a bag would be the right option. Yeah, we would be growing things for sure. That's we live in the country, as I said before. It's we've grown up doing things like that. My grandparents still every year grow beans and carrots and potatoes, and it's something that I've encouraged my son to do a little bit of as well. I'm not the best at looking after the plants once they're planted.
I think you're lucky. You're in a part of the world that has a mix of both. So you've got the lovely forest, you've got greenery around you. I'm sure your house has probably got a lovely little few acreages in the back where you can plug in a few carrots. Well, look, we're nearly at the end of the show. Lakhi, the question is, do we go back to basics? Can we go back to basics? Is it not indirectly a sign of the times that we are so plugged into the system, we're so dependent upon the system to pay us because we've been paying into the system? So there's a bit of a catch-22 there. It's not like we're only there asking for the system to take care of us. We put money into the system, but the system is telling you now, we are no longer in a position to pay you out. I don't care if you've been paying me for the last 30, 40, 60 years, or in Lakhi's case, in the last 80 years. I don't care. The bottom line is, we are going into difficult times, and I need you to pull your weight and get through the storm. What do you say to that, Lakhi? Should the system take care of you, or should you be taking care of? Should you really be going back to basics? Can I see you running around the high street challenging other men for a chicken and chips?
Well, that might be a bit extreme, trying to take somebody else's chicken. But what I would say is, I think this is a time for reflection, and then reflection and readjustment. So I think everybody's going to be thinking, if everything got cut off around me, what is it that I need to be doing? Should I be thinking about emigrating to a different country where the system is, you don't need the system. You can actually live. If you lived in somewhere like Thailand, the cost of living is really cheap. So if you lived in a small hut, it'd be so hot around here, you don't need that much heating. So you could probably get away with actually.
Right, very, very well said. Look, I think with that, it's probably an indicator you're tired. So the way to save on heating bills is to move to Indonesia, or was it Thailand, so you don't have to worry about a heating bill. I like that one. Very good, Lakhi Singh. Well, Jesse, I'm going to ask you the last question, okay? And obviously, I don't want you to go down to Thailand just to save on heating bills and living in a. But what I do say, can you see yourself?
Jesse's bought into the idea. She likes it. She likes the idea.
Okay, that's even better. Okay, Jesse, can you see yourself in Thailand wrestling with another woman, fighting over a chicken in the front yard. Can you see that?
I would hope not. Definitely. I would hope not. I think that we all need to come together as much as we can. I would hope not to have to wrestle for anything, to be honest.
Right. With that, Jesse, I'm sorry I can't hear you clearly, but I assume you've understood that we're not going to fight for food. We're all going to live happily ever after. We will get through this. As the world always does. Sorry for the bad cough today. I'm talking, trying to shout rather, because I'm trying to get my voice back. See everyone tomorrow, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. The Alternative Business and Property Community Solutions with Lakhi Singh, the Property Fixer. See everyone tomorrow. Take care. Love you. Leave you. Sorry, I'll leave you with a message. Sorry about that. Last message from Deborah Sophie as well. She said hi to everyone. Take care. See you tomorrow.
Bye.